So welcome to this, the final part 36 of this organ restoration and installation in my private chapel here at my home. So, what have we done? Well, on the left, I've just had to move back 1/4 inch the rather heavy-duty shelf I put in for the electric primary action. So that's here. Because the panel has, the panels actually go further in than I anticipated. I must have guessed it right on the other one. I thought I was recessing it about 1/4 inch. Well, this side I've had to recess it about 1/2 inch. So I'll tell you what, let's see if that panel fits. No, it doesn't. It still needs to go another 1/4 inch back. I don't know why that is. Right, so pedal board is now screwed down. We were able to temporarily put the knee board into position and determine exactly where the pedal board needed to be. I think it needed to come back 1/8 inch and go to the right 1/8 inch. We were just about there, and that's determined by where those composition pedals are. Still don't quite know where the second composition pedal is. It really doesn't matter. It may be stashed away. I remember getting the first one out of storage, which was one on the right, which isn't there, and I'm sure I painted it up. I thought, I wonder where the left-hand one is, and then the left-hand one turned up in an unexpected place. I thought, I'll make sure we paint that up and put it in. And now, of course, a year later, where's the right-hand one? Anyway, they only slot in and they can go in from the front. It's not an issue. They kind of poke between those stickers, slightly pushing the vertical stickers to one side, the stickers being the wooden rods which are vertically going from the back of the pedals up to the rollerboard action. Now, to the left of the swell pedal, whoops, I don't know whether we can see, whether I'll introduce the torch. So where they've put the swell pedal, which is the oak-faced thing in the middle which opens and closes the swell shutters, I don't know whether you can just see, but there is behind there an extra roller. So I'll just press that affected pedal and see whether you can see that working. Not that one, is it? That one? No. Is it that one? Is it that? It's that one. That one. So that pedal is right where the swell pedal is, and what they've done is put a supplementary roller at the bottom. I wondered what this spare roller was kicking around on the bench, and then when I got to putting those action stickers in for the coupler, I suddenly realised that's what it was. Anyway, I've had to make all new stickers, and as I said in the previous video, for some reason none of those lined up and they've all had to be remade. So I think the floor must have been uneven in the previous building. It certainly isn't uneven on this new build. So there we are, that is all complete, and we're going to be ready to put, I'm just going to check that the pedal stop down, pedal board on is working on those electric contacts at the back, the reed switches. Just make sure the alignment's spot on and it hasn't altered in moving the pedal board and fitting those couple of stickers, and then we're done. So that's going to go on, you'll see that in the next shot. The other thing I've been doing, we put the music desk in, which folds down, obviously, hence it's painted green. the stops. Look, I've put all the draw stops. 2 of the heads were broken, not because they came out broken, because they broke in removing them from the shafts, because if you remember, I had to rebush. So that red baize cloth or felt, can we actually see that? Yeah, they all had to be redone, so I had to take them all out, and you steam them off because it's animal glue, and 2 of them broke in taking them out. So what we do is drill it out and put in 10mm doweling and glue it back in, and nobody would be the wiser. It's pretty, in fact one of them had been done before as broken. You'll also see we've now got the new drawstop heads in, which have all been engraved just so. The original ivory ones, most of those were ivory, and they're now in a plastic bag, and they'll go in one of the bins of parts within the organ, so it belongs, the organ's history. But these are plastic. It's a nice, I say they're plastic, but you know, they're expensive. It's very nice, but that's how it is. Gonna have just cleaned the keys a bit further. Somebody commented that we should be shot blasting. That's absolutely ridiculous. Never heard anything so stupid in all my life. Original ivory keys do go yellow, and we don't take any strange proprietary bleachers to make them any other way. I'd rather them be ivory when the deed's been done. Obviously you would never do that today. This is 1865. Ivory was how it is. I'll just move over. There is some, they do want cleaning again. In fact, I'll do that right now, and then we'll put the camera back on. Clean them, so you do that with a cloth and methylated spirit, or whatever it's called in other countries, but that's the stuff that decorators and those kind of people will clean brushes and that with, not turpentine, methylated spirit. So that's as harsh as you want to go. So you've got some yellowing at the edges. You can see that the top keyboard's being played the most. And remember, these ivories are only 1mm thick when new. So I can see we're actually going down, there's a ridge where fingers have been over 150 years of playing, and it's so thin there I can actually see the timber through. So some of that yellowing is actually the timber, because these ivories are translucent, aren't they, if you hold them up to a light. So I play an organ at Haydor Church, another, it's the Forster Andrews like this. In fact, I'm playing there for a funeral today. And when that came up for overhaul, we didn't get the job, but somebody else did 20 years ago. The ivories were so worn on the bottom keyboard that they had recovered about 1.5 octaves in a grained plastic, but the rest of the keyboard is still ivory. So you've got this obviously recovered bit, but again, it's best to retain the ivory when it's there. So for somebody who wants a bright white white note, buy an organ that was built after they stopped using ivory, and and then you can have a bright white plastic keyboard. Now our organ next door, which we're going to resume with, I'm just going to move the camcorder over to there. There's a load of tat on the keyboard. We've abandoned it 10 years ago. So I'm not asking you to look at the dust and the crud on it. I'm wanting you to look at the dreadful marks. Now this organ's 1888, somewhere around there, and this doesn't use an ivory keyboard. It's a type of celluloid. And when I cleaned this keyboard, and when I was working on this organ, it looked absolutely spiffing. And a week later, I looked round, and where the wear is from fingers, it's got dirt ingrained into it. And this is a keyboard that we will be recovering with the latest ingrained plastic. So when we move back onto this organ in a few weeks' time, after a 10-year break, first thing that's going to get done is we're going to have to pop the keyboard back out. He says that casually, and we'll get this recovered. and that'll take some doing. How many clamps have we got? 7. Right, so if we have the glue over this 58 notes times 2, and we can do 7 at a time. That's going to take some doing. Back to the other organ. Once again, I've moved the shelf with the electric primary action unit 1/4 of an inch further back. Now will it fit? Ow! It fits. So we're still chasing wind leaks. So the side bottom panels are ready to go on. You can see these have had screw holes. At one point they even had locks on them, which was a nice convenient way of opening and closing them whilst people knew where the keys were. But those locks have long gone and they've been screwed. We don't need to screw them in this environment. They don't fall out on their own. And it's not like I'm going to have people going inside there and say, "Ooh, what's in here?" So I think what I was going to do was I was going to show you the stops. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm saying we've redone all these drawstop inserts with new engraved ones. They've been done exactly like the original ivory ones. So just kind of zoom in so we can actually see what we're talking about. So the tremulant went on in 1920. You can see the shaft is a different shade slightly. And I haven't gone to any, I could have sanded that down and used wood dye and brought it nearer, but no, that was put on in 1920. It's a bit different and let it be. The stop head's slightly different, but you get away with it. And now we've got all the same engravings. It's even more accurate than it ever was. So we've not had the Spitz flute insert. I don't know where that disappeared to. That is correct. And you'll notice instead of having department labels, most organs will say swell, couplers, and on the other side will say grate and pedal. It actually says SWR for swell, oboe, and tells you its footage. It's got the Lieblich board on, spelt Bordun. Don't know why. Geigen principle, which means violin diapason. Spitz float, which is, it's flute, isn't it? Ooh. Which is your 4/4, which is a gems horn, really, to my mind. But an organ historian told me that Spitz flute and on the grate the bell gamba were 2 stops to die for on this organ, why I must buy it. Let's move over to the other side. Oh, that's me messing with the composition pedals yesterday. Never leave an organ with the stops out. So starting at the bottom, the basic organ sound in the UK is open diapason. The bell gamba, these weren't cleaning since I put them in yesterday. You see, you end up with sticky fingers on them, and so that'll get cleaned off with the mess. The bell gamba, never seen one before. Real luxury stop. It's a bit like a normal viola di gamba. It's a harsher sound than a dulciana, and that's your string, the only string on the organ really. Stop diapason bass is shared between bell gamba and stop diapason treble, so it gives you the option of having the bass out only to give a bit of reinforcement to the open and principal, or not having it out because it's shared between those 2 stops. The idea is if you're sharing it, you haven't got to pay for 2 lots of pipes which are quite big and hefty. You've also got to put those pipes somewhere. So some organs you'll find that every stop on the organ goes on every single note all the way up and down, and some organs where they've got to do an economy of cost and size, they may borrow the bottom octave between 2 different stops. On the Konica next door, which is the one we've featured a lot with the hymn playing, the 1877 Konica, it's done automatically. So when you pull out, in that case, the dulciana, or you pull out the stop diapason, it automatically selects the bass for you in its mechanical mechanism. But this organ's a couple of years older and of course a different make, and it's done manually. You choose whether you want to have the bass or not. But of course it does give you an extra stop to pull out while you're trying to play. Then you've got the 4-foot version of the stop diapason, and then this principal is the 4-foot version of the open diapason. The 2-foot is a 2-foot version, so it's an octave higher still. And I'm going to switch on and I'm going to demonstrate what that's all about. This is the original bench and it'll get refinished in the future. One of the things I did do is it got a felt covering. Was that so you didn't get a chilly bottom? Absolutely ridiculous. Has to be wood. You've got to be able to move around because you're playing the pedals. So there you go. It just goes to show that somebody had no intention of playing the pedals. And if we just zoom in on that corner, you can just see, hopefully that's in shot, you've got this bit of felt here left over, which I have not taken the tack out of yet. So that'll get done in the future, it doesn't matter. The other thing I did say, that tremulant, which went on in 1920, no intention of doing that at this point. I need 250 quid to do the re-leathering. I haven't got 250 quid to spend on it, so it'll get done in the future. So we've put 7,000 quid in parts into this organ, and to be frank, that's as much as we can do at this stage. So you know what a tremulant does, it gives it that wow, 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 wow effect to the top keyboard on this organ. And the only thing you'd want to put it on is really the Geigen principle. It's just bizarre, I don't know why they did that. Must have been a trend in 1920, they're probably trying to pretend they've got a theatre organ in the church. Right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to move this camera around and I'm going to demonstrate what the stops do. We're going to put the wind on. Here goes. Start by discussing the bottom keyboard. It's 56 notes. These days, since 1914, the standard is 61 notes. So you can see it. Can we see down to middle C? We can't, can we? That is on the top keyboard. That's middle C. On the bottom keyboard, I think we're just out of shot. That's middle C. So that's exactly the same as it would be on the piano. And if I pull out open diapason, that's exactly the same pitch that middle C on the piano would be. Now this organ isn't at concert pitch A equaling 440 Hertz, it's at 446, it's slightly high. To change it lower, we would need to have every organ pipe with an extra bit soldered onto it. So we've taken this down as low as we dare. I think it was on something like 452, it was quite high. But we have dropped it as far as we dare. Because you get to a stage where you can't go any lower because the pipes need to be longer. So it isn't concert pitch, it doesn't matter. The Konica next door is, we were able to do that one, but this one not so. So, again, if somebody wanted to buy this organ, they could pay a few thousand quid extra, couldn't they? And we could have 600 organ pipes lengthened. So the basic sound on a pipe organ in the UK is the open diapason. That's it. If you only had one stop on an organ in the UK, and this is important because it's in different countries, in other countries it may be a flute, which is the predominant thing, which is going to be your stop diapason. That may be the basis, but in this country it's the open diapason. So 8 foot, what it means is the bottom note, the pipe is 8 feet long. It is physically, the speaking length is 8 feet long. Those pipes which are in the towers on this organ at either side, the centre one is in fact on the right hand side is that note, and on the left hand side is that note. Now we've got 4 notes lower there inside the organ because when this was originally built it went on a balcony in a chapel and they've got restricted height, and that's why those bottom 4 are inside. Normally you'll find an organ with them on the display front. Some fronts of organs are totally dummy pipes. On this one I think every single pipe is a speaking pipe. So that's your basic sound. That's middle C and that's 8 foot pitch. Now if I put that stop in and pull out the principal 4, it's now an octave higher, isn't it? Listen. It's an octave higher. So if I pull out this principal, it's an octave higher. But it's the same basic sound, but I'll play it an octave lower. Sounds the same, but a bit quieter than that one. Then we've got a 15th 2. We've put this on. It was originally here. It got changed in 1920 to a Dulciana. We've had this made brand new, 2,000 quid plus VAT. And this takes us up another foot pitch. So there you go. So at 8-foot pitch, at 4-foot pitch, at 2-foot pitch. So what it means is if we pull all three, we're playing 3 notes, aren't we, in unison? 8, 4, 2. So now when I play a chord, it's very bright. Now, as this organ was, that would have been... I'll add this. So you can tell the difference. It had been dulled down by removing that in 1920, and that's one of the things which was a ridiculous thing for them to do, but they did. Perhaps they're all fed up after World War I. So that's what we have as a basic diapason chorus on this organ. We've got it at 8, 4 and 2. And then we've got another chorus. We have got stop diapason, which, as I've explained before, we pull 2 stops out because the bass and treble are split. Which is a very nice flute. It's a wooden set of pipes in this organ. And then it also has, there's middle C, swap that for the 4-foot one. So the same applies. Now the 15th we've had made, we haven't had it voiced mega loud. So in fact it isn't overpowering even if we add it to this. Listen once again, 8-foot, 4-foot, add our 15th. Although it's slightly dominant, it isn't overpowering. So you could use it where it could, because if we wanted a 2-foot in this family of stops, in the flutes, you'd have a piccolo too. Well, the organ hasn't got enough space to have a piccolo, and so we've had the 15th made so that it can be used with both choruses, as they're called. Then on its own, we've got this bel gamba, which is the only string on the organ. Bass is, of course, the stop diapason bass because it doesn't have its own. So just to show you, it ends somewhere. That's it, ends at F. So that's what we have. So full organ isn't all these out, full organ, because if you pulled all these, supposing you've got bel gamba out, and you pull out open diapason, you can't hear that. It makes no difference. You're just wasting wind. So full organ isn't all of them. Stop diapason can give it some body. You can hear the 4-foot. Because you've got the principal out, you can't really hear that. So full organ is in fact that. So you also got the pedal board on, the 16-foot, and you'll need to have some good fidelity in order to hear that. Now this is where we've got the wrong blower on the organ, and this takes so much wind that I can't really play the pedals on very much. Bottom note. Okay, we've got no connection. We'll come back to that test another time. Move the camcorder around. So on this side, this is for the top keyboard. Remember, the bottom keyboard is the grate, the top keyboard is the swell. It's called that because it can swell out, because you've got that pedal in the middle that opens and closes the shutters. Let me show you. Open, closed, open, closed. we've got volume control because all the pipes are in that wooden box with the shutters on the front. So in the UK, the bottom keyboard is normally the great on a 2-manual organ. Manuals, not keyboards on an organ. And that's because you've got the ones you play with your feet called the pedals. So on a 3-manual organ, your 3rd manual is actually lower down. So it becomes choir, great, and the top keyboard will be swell. I don't play any 3 manuals, I don't work on any 3 manuals. I can't be bothered to. This has taken, what, 18 months. There's only me and, you know, other people we can call in from time to time. Doing a 3-manual organ would take kind of double the time, so I don't want to spend 3 years on one job for no real benefit to me, except to say, oh look, I've got 3 keyboards on my organ, it's bigger than yours. And I'm just not into doing that. So we've got this Geigen principle, which is, in UK parlance, is a violin diapason. And that's our basic sound. Let's compare it to the great one. It's quieter and it's got a very slightly stringy sound to it. So that is our 8-foot. And then at 4-foot pitch we've got this Spitz flute. And I haven't got the thumper bar on the top, so the keys aren't even. I forgot to put it in, I'll do that later. They're conical, they're very, very nice pipes. So again, there's our pitch, 8-foot, 4-foot, 2 together. Now then we've got, don't even ask me what they were thinking of, but they put a 16-foot which ends at tenor C. So everything is now an octave lower. So now we've got 8, 16 is an octave lower, and then we've got the 4-foot. Which makes the organ a bit muddy. Now you can use that with care, don't get me wrong, use it with care. But why would you put a 16-foot on an organ with only 4 stops on the swell? Don't ask me. I don't think we've got any other organ. We've got 10 organs in stock. I don't think we've got another one with a 16-foot on the manuals, and we've got some organs twice the size of this in stock. And then we've got a reed, which we're only tuning this organ once a year. We tuned it in April, and it's only going to be in tune at exactly the temperature you tuned it at, which was 18 degrees. It's Tennessee, so I can't play anything in the bass, can I? So that's our one and only reed. The pipe makers, when they revoiced it for us, something they need doing every 75 years on reeds really, they said, to be honest, it's more of a trompet than an oboe. It doesn't have a, did they say it didn't have a top cap? So it's a bit more like a trumpet, but they say it's a trompet. But it does add, so listen, there's our 8-foot, there's our 4-foot, there's our reed. So it gives it a bit of kick. And if you want to muddy it up, so that's what we have on the swell, and they're under control of the swell pedal. So then, all organs are going to have a coupler, and in this case, swell to great allows me to play the top keyboard from the bottom. So we've got nothing on the bottom keyboard. We have now nothing. I pull out swell to great, pull out something on there, and it plays it automatically. Which means that, of course, I can now, supposing I want to have, let's pull out the stop diapason and the 4-foot flute on the great, and then pull out this, or perhaps we want to add that 16. Now, there is something you could do, and that is, this organ doesn't have any flutes on the swell, but if you play this an octave higher, just move that slightly round. I've got a hymn on my keyboard on my music desk here. Isn't that lovely? So what we could do, because we haven't got a 2-foot, we could play the whole thing an octave higher. So I have on the grate, I have got my stop bass and my 4-foot flute. So listen to that. Now if I play that an octave higher, instead of them being 8 and 4, they'll be 4 and 2, won't they? Equivalent. Listen to this. So, although we've got a limited number of stops because it's only got 600 and something pipes, we can cheat, can't we? And we can add things which aren't there by doing things like that. I'll tell you something else we could do. We could do what they call solo synthetics. So let's pull out that and the 15th on the grate. So on the grate, middle C is this, and on the swell, middle C is that. So let me just make something up, and I'm going to play the left hand an octave higher, so this becomes an 8-foot. So this then gives me the equivalent of having 3 keyboards when I've only got 2. Isn't that clever? Yes, Mr. Tango. Now then, finally, we've got grate to pedals. So before I end this demonstration, I've got shorts on today. Before I end this demonstration, we'll just show some pedals. So if I pull out grate to pedals, whatever I have on the bottom keyboard, so we're going to have the open diapason. If I pull out grate to pedals, I'll be able to play it with my feet. Like that. So you can imagine that whilst this is the whole thing about being able to play the organ smoothly. Let me think, have I got anything on this music desk that would demonstrate this well? I was playing this Sunday, wasn't I? I'll move the keyboard, I'll move the camera up. So you'll see the notes going down on the bottom keyboard. If I pulled out the swell to grate, it would do the same on there, which we will. I'll tell you what, we'll have something quieter. So enabling me to play the keyboard. So I wish I'd put the thumper in there. We'll get that sorted out later on today. Only got to take 4 screws out and take the music desk out. We'll just see why we haven't got anything on that pedal stop, and then we'll draw this part of the video to a close. We are very near the end. I'd unplug the power supply and plug my kettle in instead. So the bottom note is that. And if you're trying to hear this on a mobile phone or a laptop, you'll hear absolutely nothing. It's 32 Hertz, octave higher. So we'll just play that once again, and you'll just listen to the depth difference. Now we've got the wrong blower on this, there's a limit to what I can play without me running out of air. We'll do exactly the same stops. There you go, that's what the pedals add with the 16-foot stop. So we'll leave it at that. We're going to put the panels in not too distant future. Just show you around with the panels in and the tools cleared away and the console dusted off and probably a bit of polish on it. And we'll then draw that to a close, and that will be the end of part 36. So we'll draw this to a close. Got all the side panels in, you'll see we've got the knee board in, that's the bit under the keyboards. I don't need to fold the music desk down to show you how it closes because that's an obvious bifold. Just go around to the other side. One panel is sticking. I think there's some debris in one of the dowels, so we just need to sort that out. That back panel just needs that sorting. Done all the panelling. So we'll play something on it. So I won't be able to demonstrate the pedal stop for the reasons I've told you with the inadequate blower. I think we'll do that because you don't see the console way on. I've never played this piece on this organ before. Should really be playing something about the same age as the organ, but this is a bit modern, 1898. So we'll pull out the stops which are going to give us something like full organ, but so I've got to be careful with the limited blower. So I'm having to play that in a way that we're not using as many stops as I could do. More stops won't necessarily make it louder, but it could have given it a bit more body. As we've said before, I couldn't use the pedal board on, but I've kind of given it the same effect by doing other things. So there we have it. A piece I had better brush up on because that wasn't 100%, but there you go. So I hope you've enjoyed the 36 parts of installing and restoring this lovely 1865 organ, which we bought from Louth Trinity Chapel in 2010. All we need to do now is sweep the floor, tidy the place up and get the chairs and things in place. Thank you for watching.